right? When dealing with time in French, you don't ask somebody what time is it. You actually ask them. Gonna give you some French. What hour is it? And so there are several different ways to say what, because what is technically an adjective. Well, in this case, which it's an adjective. And hour is feminine. And the word for hour is heure. Heure. H-E-U-R-E. Heure. And it ends in an E, which helps you remember, yes, that is feminine, right? And then the way that we say what or which, technically, hour, is, since this is feminine, we would say quelle. And you actually see the she in there, so that helps you remember that it's feminine. So quelle heure. And then the word for is, you may remember it from a previous lesson, but is E-S-T. And then the way you say it is, since we're talking about time, and time is actually masculine, le temps, and even though this ends in an S, it's actually singular. So le temps is the way you say time. And so what hour is it? Quelle heure est-il? And the reason that we have the hyphen here is because we have our conjugated verb is in front of our subject pronoun. It. Est-il. And we're going to pronounce this T because this one, this next word begins with a vowel. So, quelle heure est-il? What hour is it? Alright? Make sense? Quelle heure est-il? So, if I'm going to answer you, I'm going to say it is, and then whatever time it is. So, quelle heure est-il? The answer becomes, let me get a color here. Il est whatever time it is. Now, the way that you do this is like this. Il est blank heure. And then if it happens to be more than 1 hour, you're going to put an S there. So if I wanted to say it is 1 o'clock, the word for 1 is un. But un is one of these numbers. It's really the only number, and the only time you would use it is if you were saying 1 something. Because hour is feminine, here you actually make this feminine. This is the only number that you're going to do this with, so don't worry. It's just 1 o'clock that you have to worry about. So, il est une heure, because you need these to match because it's feminine. But 1 is the only one you do this with. So, il est une heure. I'm not going to need an S there because it's only 1. So, this is how I say it is 1 hour. In other words, it is 1 o'clock. Il est une heure. So if I wanted to say it was 2 o'clock, il est 2 heures. If it was 4 o'clock, oh, and the reason that this is pronounced like a Z is because this H is a vowel sound here. So 2 heures. So 3, which is actually 3, il est 3 heures. It is 3 o'clock. It is 3 hours. Oh, but I need an S there because hour is plural, because it's not just 1 hour. It's not une heure. It's 2 heures or 3 heures. And I should have had that S there for deux also. So, il est 3 heures. Now, what if it was 4 o'clock? Il est 4 heures. And so forth and so on. So 10 o'clock, il est 10 heures. Alright? Now, when you get to past 12 o'clock, let's say you want to say it's 1 p.m., the French use what we call military time, or the 24-hour clock, right? And it's really easy to use the 24-hour clock. You just kind of have to get used to it. Because basically what's going on is you have 12, well, let me go through the numbers, this will help. So, il est 1 heure, il est 2 heures, il est 3 heures, il est 4 heures, il est 5 heures, il est 6 heures, il est 7 heures, il est 8 heures, il est 9 heures, il est 10 heures, and il est 11 heures, right? But when you go back around, you just keep numbering. So for PM, you're going to end up, this 12 plus 1 is 13, right? 12 plus 2 is 14. You just keep the cycle going, right? So for 1 p.m., you're actually going to say, il est 13 heures. It's 13 hours. So for 2 o'clock, it's actually 12 plus 2, where you just keep going around however you need to see that. And il est 14 heures. This would be, il est 15 heures. Il est 16 heures. Il est 17 heures. Il est 18 heures. Il est 19 heures. Il est 20 heures. 20, because 12 and 8 is 20. Il est 21 heures, or 1 heure, actually, because hour is feminine, don't forget. This is the one number you actually have to add the E to. And don't put your hyphens there, because you have your ET. Il est 22 heures. And il est, well, did I do this right? Yeah, no. I'm missing one. Aha, here we go. Il est 22 heures, or 10. Il est 23 heures. And then, yes, 24 hours. Il est 24 heures. Now, you're generally not going to see 24 heures. You will actually see it written like that. That's pretty much how it goes back when you get to midnight, right? And there are actually words for midnight and noon, just like we have them in English. We may say 12 o'clock at night, but chances are we're going to say midnight. And we may say 12 o'clock during the day, but we're actually going to say noon. And the French have these words too. So the French word for midnight, night is nuit, nuit. And it's feminine, la nuit, the night. Nuit. And then you have the word day for the most part. And this is not the word for day, but this is how they're going to use it to talk about the middle of the day. And they also use this when they're talking about days of week. Now you remember the word for day is actually jour. So bonjour means good day. But for this case, when we're talking about time, we're going to use di. And then mid, same exact thing. So minuit, and then midi. Now it's not a type of music file. That actually means noon. So midi means noon, and minuit means midnight. Noon and midnight. So if I said il est midi, it's noon. And then il est minuit, it's midnight. And don't forget you use the 24-hour clock. So now what if I wanted to say it's 5:10? Alright, and we're just going to go ahead and say that all of this for right now is AM, just to make it easy. So it's 5:10. Well, we remember that we say il est for it is when we're talking about time, because time is masculine. So it's kind of like he is, really, is what this is saying. So father time, you know. So he is, or it is. Now, we do our number and then the word heure. So 5, 5. The word for hour, heure. It is plural, so we're going to need an S, right? And then whatever the minutes are, go after this. So this would say, il est 5h10. It is 5 hours 10. In other words, it's 5:10. Il est 5h10. So, il est 3h15 would be, did you hear it? Let me say it again. Il est 3h15. 3h15. It is 3:15. And so this is the way that you do your hours and minutes, just very basically, very plain. But just like in English, we have certain phrases, like it's a quarter after, or it's half past, or it's a quarter till. The French have the same phrases. So, let's get this cleared off, and then this will make a little bit more sense, all right? So you have 60 minutes in an hour. So a quarter of an hour, or a fourth of that, is 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes. So, and if you don't know how to tell time on a round clock, this lesson's probably a little difficult for you. But it's always a good time to learn how to do that. So, 15 minutes is going to be a quarter of an hour. That's 1/4 of this whole pie, right? Or clock, or horloge, l'horloge. The word for clock, l'horloge, all right? And Baudelaire, who's a great French poet, has a wonderful poem about l'horloge. So, the way that you talk about those phrases, you have a quarter till and a quart and quarter, literally, is the way that you would say that. A quart. Alright? And this means quarter after. So if I said it's 3:15, I could say il est 3h15, which is what you just saw. Or I could say il est 3h15. Il est 3h15. And quart means and quarter. And quarter. So it's 3 hours and quarter. In other words, it's 3 hours. Quarter of an hour is 15. So this is saying that it's 3:15. Il est 3h15. So if I said il est 13h15. 13, think about this. 13 minus 12 equals 1, right? That's what time it was. So it's 1 in the afternoon. It's 1:15 p.m. Il est 13h15. Now, if I want to deal with 30, 30 is half of an hour. And the way that you can, demi. Demi is the word for, well, a word, it's not really going to work, is it? Demi is the word for half. You can kind of think of this because Demi Moore married Ashton Kutcher, and he's like half her age. So demi means half. Alright? So if I said, il est 1h30. Il est 1h30. Demi is half. Half of an hour. Half of 60 is 30. Une. It's 1:30. Il est 1h30. Et demi. Il est 1h30. Don't think it's got an A in there. And then you have your quarter till. Now this one's kind of different because when you're saying it's a quarter till something, it's 3, like let's say it was 3:45. But you wouldn't say it's a quarter till 3. You have to go up to the next one and say it's a quarter till 4. Because it's till. It's not there yet, but it's almost there. So it's that next one, right? It's the same thing in French, but they word it a little differently. It's actually minus the quarter. Instead of a quarter till, it's minus the quarter. And I probably spelled that wrong. Yeah. And we need an R there too. Minus the quarter. So, you end up with, for instance, if I said, il est 4 heures moins le quart. Now, moins, M-O-I-N-S, means minus. So, il est, and then whatever your time is, right? Heure moins le quart. And this means it's a quarter till. Quarter till. So we would say it's a quarter till 4. This says it's 4 minus the quarter. It's the exact same thing. You're just saying it a different way. Okay? So, il est 4 heures moins le quart. It's 4 hours. It is 4 hours minus the quarter, right? So you're actually at 3:45. So if I said, il est 6 heures moins le quart, what time would that be? 5:45. That makes sense? So you have écart, which means it's like the 15 after, right? 3 1/4, 3:15. Il est 3 heures et quart. Then you have demi, which is half, which is 30. And then you have moins le quart, which is, don't forget, you got to kind of add one, and then it's a quarter till. So, il est 1 heure et quart, it's 1:15. Il est 1 heure demi, it's 1:30. And il est 1 heure moins le quart, it's a quarter till 2, right? I mean, no. Il est 1 heure moins le quart would be 12:45. Il est 2 heures moins le quart would be 1:45. So, those are your expressions with time. You can find most of these on page 58 of your book. And then work through those as well. There's more activities with time on page 65, 65. And that should pretty much get you covered for that. Any questions? Hope not.